Jackson Tower, bearing 90611 Yankee, 9,500, Moran Pass.
Well, we're gonna have a positive exchange of controls. I'll tell you, you have the airplane, you'll confirm you have the airplane. Here we go, Teton Valley.
Usually, when a watch comes in for a week on the wrist treatment, you'll find me sitting in front of a bookcase at a desk, going through the features of the watch and applying them to some imagined world. But today, we're gonna do things a little different. This is the IWC Big Pilot in 43 millimeters, and behind me is a Beechcraft Baron. And we're gonna put this watch in the context that it was designed for. This is a week on the wrist with the IWC Big Pilot 43 millimeters. This is more or less the Big Pilot that you've always known. It has all the hallmark features of a Big Pilot. Oversized onion crown, white Arabic numerals on a dark dial, very legible. And I think IWC may have struck gold here in this size. First, 43 millimeters helps me get over the mental block of a Big Pilot. When I put it on, it's neat, it's compact, but it's still big enough to fulfill the primary duty that it was engineered for, legibility. 43 hits that sweet spot where it's still very much a Big Pilot, but yet it still feels right on my 7.5-inch wrist. Every design detail on these watches had a purpose at one point. The massive onion crown made it easier to pull out and set the time in the cockpit. The white, large Arabic numerals made it easy to see at a glance. But over the years, something happened where all these design details meant something different. It meant a luxury watch. But what we want to find out is, does it still hold its own in the cockpit? To put the watch through its paces, I called up my friend Jordan Urbach, a pilot based out of Wyoming's Teton mountain range. So I know what watch we're wearing for the flight today, but I want to learn a little bit more about what we're actually flying. So what is this here?
This is my beloved Baron, November 90611 Yankee. She's a piston twin-engine aircraft made in 1961 by the Beechcraft Aircraft Company. And other than some hot-rodded engines, she's almost exactly as she left the factory floor in 1961. So we're taking the aircraft back to the environment that she was meant to operate in a cockpit that's essentially unchanged, and with a wristwatch that's almost entirely unchanged.
For the most part, it is a wristwatch and cockpit that are out of another era.
Intergalactic traffic, White Baron, 11 Yankee, 10 miles north-northwest, inbound, runway 4 initial, intergalactic.
Like we said this morning, the best way to review a pilot's watch is to actually get it in the air. We've flown from Alpine Airfield to, I don't know, some flying wild Tetons over here. Where exactly are we, Jordan?
We're at 48 Uniform, the Green River Intergalactic Spaceport. We're at 7,200 feet. This is a 5,500-foot dirt runway, and it's just north of the Flaming Gorge Reservoir in Wyoming.
And I actually understand that you still use an IWC in the cockpit, which is just crazy to me. And let me clarify, this is not just because we're doing a week on the wrist for this video.
The most basic thing that a pilot's watch can be is a reliable source of what time it is right now. The second great thing a pilot's watch can do for you, if you get one with this feature, is to calculate elapsed time. Special to me for that reason. It's reliable.
If we're going to review a pilot's watch, it's got to be in the air. But we're going to take it a step farther. If we're going to review a pilot's watch, we're going to put it on a pilot and get your take. So I'll take the Doppelchronograph.
Alrighty.
And you're going to go with this bad boy.
Careful with my baby.
Yeah, likewise. We got to get ourselves back in one piece and get the watch back in one piece. So let's go.
Let's do it.
The first thing that jumps out is how legible the watch face is. We've got a little bit of turbulence here, which is common in the summer. We've got some thermals, and the watch isn't moving around. I can clearly see this little seconds hand ticking away.
So you always take your 3711 with you when you're flying normally?
I do.
This flight, you strapped on the new little Big Pilot at 43 millimeters. The design of this watch has remained relatively unchanged, like we talked about. But if you do have the chance to change something, what would you change about it?
I think the size of this watch fits a large variety of wrists and remains legible in the cockpit in turbulence. If I had to change one thing about the watch, I would swap those Spitfire hands for baton hands. It's what I'm used to from my 3711. I think they're more legible, especially at night. But other than that, it's very hard to pick anything about this watch to change because it is so simple and straight to the point.
In a way, it kind of increases situational awareness to have a time-only watch that's very legible.
For the sort of pure joy of flying VFR expedition that we had today, I would love to have something like the Little Big Pilot in the toolkit. It's a pure watch for pure flying.
Now, I will admit, the last thing I was doing was thinking about the watch while we were zipping through valleys and popping over ridge lines while we were flying wild Wyoming. But once I was on the ground, thinking back on it, something makes sense to me. And it's that the IWC Big Pilot works for two very different reasons. It works as a tool watch for pilots. It's legible, it was designed specifically for that function. But it's become a cultural icon because theoretically it fits in with the cockpit and embodies the whole fighter jock lifestyle. And there's something very appealing about that.